question that I posed to students in the yesterday actually, a few schools, is this question. Why do we have 5 fingers and 5 toes? Why not 4 fingers and 6 toes? Why not 6 fingers and 4 toes? Or vice versa, whatever. So I posed this question to them, and they took a while to I said, don't give me the answer. I'm here to give you a 30-minute talk, and so at the end of 30 minutes, tell me. And the answers that I got from them were very fascinating, and perhaps you have your own answer why we have 5 fingers and 5 toes. And at the end of that session, I told them, I'm not interested in the answer. Really, I'm not interested in the answer. I'm interested in how they answer it. And so, in the whole process of education, I believe that today we should be more interested in how our students are thinking, how do they solve problems in terms of the thinking process, than the outcome of that solution. Because in the world that they're going to inherit, there are no fixed answers. And this particular question, by the way, has been debated by scientists, by medical doctors, by anthropologists, by researchers, and there is no answer. They don't know why. We have 5 fingers and 5 toes. And why I ask this question is because more and more admission interviews are being conducted this way. These are some questions that came up from Oxford University admission interviews. They will be given questions like, why do you think there are 5 fingers and 5 toes? Tell me. And they are not interested in the right answer because there are no right answers. The other one that was thrown up in these Oxford University interviews is, why do ladybirds, and the majority of ladybirds are red. There are some that are kind of different color, and strawberries red. And again, there's no right answer. If you're looking for the right answer, you'll go crazy because there isn't. In one of the latest job interviews, one of my daughter's friend came back and told me, I went for this interview with a large MNC, and the interviewer asked him on the spot, tell me how many pens do you think that exist in the world today? How many pens? And the guy looked at him and said, how many pens? I said, yeah, how many pens? And again, is there a right answer? No right answer. The interviewer is more interested in how do you arrive at that? The logic, the reasoning behind it. And reasoning, logic, and problem-solving skills are helped, assisted by the 16 habits of mind. Using past knowledge as to how many pens do you normally carry in your pocket, or you saw on the desk of a person. How many pens do you think is produced? How many people are there in the world? Your past knowledge, and logically, kind of thinking flexibly about the problem, arriving at it from different angles would help us to really think about how many pens are there in the world today, because there are no right answer. And more, we need people like that in our world to help us solve our problems when we become older and we retire and we go into our old age. The new generation is going to take over, and we hope that they can answer these questions, not to get the right answer, but to at least to attempt to find out ways to solve the problems that we are not even sure will exist. What kind of problems will exist in the future? What kind of problems we're going to face in the future? We have no idea. We really have no idea. So, I'm going to just pause here for a few minutes and open this to the floor for you to ask questions, after which I'm going to conclude with 3 ideas. Okay, so, questions that you'd like to ask based on the things that I've just shared with you in the last 30 to 35 minutes. Remember, one of the habits is questioning and problem posing, and so you've got to put on that habit now. Pose questions or problems, so that we can be enriched, thinking about what can we do for our students in the VUCA environment. Questions from the floor, please. And is there a way to bring a mic to them? Oh yes, this lady. Can you shout in the room or? Sure. Okay, great. You don't need a mic.
So one thing, right now the IT
where is the?
IQ, EQ.
Where does it stand? Okay, so while we look at the entire gamut of intelligences, and the best theory that's there to kind of explain our intelligence is actually multiple intelligences by Howard Gardner, and there are a total of 8, right? And we know that out of the 8, approximately 2 to 2.5 are kind of in the field of what we call IQ, which is basically logical, mathematical, linguistic, and a little bit of spatial. The question is, today, in our world or in the future world, do we need just IQ or more of the intelligences? The answer is, and there is an answer for this one, the answer is the world is moving towards a more multiple intelligent approach to problem solving than in the past. And this is evident by what we see in our society today in terms of the equipment, the solutions that we are using. I'll give you a very simple example. Visual spatial intelligence is something that's not very well kind of assessed by schools and not very well regarded in a sense. I would say this very openly. Whether generally in schools in Asian countries, we don't really value visual spatial. Okay? But guess what made Apple great? Is the visual spatial intelligence applied to solutions that we didn't even know we needed, which is basically the touch screen, the icons, the pictures, the graphics, and so on. And if you have a society that has very little or very few people with visual spatial intelligence, you will never create a company like Apple, and so on. So we now need more and more. Now recently, in Singapore, we actually have a global council. The government has created a council of about 8 so-called great gurus around the world. Some of them come from in the field of science, and some are from arts, and so on and so forth. And they meet every 2 years, and they will then give the government ideas of how to build the country. And about 6 years or 8 years ago, one of the council members, or people who have been kind of invited to kind of share the government, was Steve Wozniak. Steve Wozniak is actually the partner of Steve Jobs. He is the IT guy behind Steve Jobs. So together, the two Steves actually kind of created Apple. And Steve Wozniak spoke at the conference which I was in, and he said something very interesting. And this is not just Steve Wozniak saying it, it's the entire council member saying it. And he said that in the current society, in order to solve future problems, we need to have more pathways to success. Okay, to rephrase that, he simply said, it means this, that we need to value the musicians, the artists, the philosophers, the kinesthetic people, the sports people, the athletes, and so on. Because they will provide some form of solution or contribute to the solution to the problems that we face in society of the future. So this is what the Singapore government has been doing. They now have created sports schools and art school and funded dramas and the visual arts and so on and so forth. Because we believe that part of the solution to our future problems rests in these kind of disciplines. And so the long answer to your very short but succinct question is, we should not give up IQ. We should add on to that range and really embrace multiple intelligences as a way to go. In other words, as we emphasize the arts and sports and so on, and music, we should not de-emphasize IQ. Because we sometimes think it's one or the other. It's not. It is together. And I think for a long time, we have de-emphasized the rest to the detriment of societal development. Let me go on to, I think my time is kind of up, to share with you the 3 ideas that I want to leave with all of us. One is to teach deep thinking skills. I mentioned that before. Because today, you can't really solve problems at the surface level. We think we can, but we usually make the problems worse. We make the problems worse with very shallow thinking. Second one is stay curious. And I did not say teach our students to stay curious. I say stay curious as an idea for all of us, because for us in this room, whether we're educators, administrators, business people, we need to stay curious because the world is becoming a lot more interesting. A very simple example would be, and again, this is my pet hobby now, to think about driverless vehicles, autonomous vehicles. What opportunities and threats will there be when the vehicles are made publicly available? It will be, to me, a very big game changer. A very big game changer. If you can preempt or you can think forward, you will win in this particular game. I like to look at it as a game. I've been debating with a lot of people about this, and the ideas are very fascinating. We can spend 2 days talking about it and we're not finished talking. And it's just fascinating. And these are things that I believe will change all our lives. All our lives. Whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, a businessman, a teacher, librarian, it will change our lives. Third and last one is really to do this, to develop a learning mindset. Because no matter what, we will be forced to learn. So my wife and I have made this pact that we will not become like our parents. And they said, what? I said, no, there are very good things that we can learn from our parents, but one of the things that, maybe it's my wife's parents, not my parents, okay, I mean, say this publicly when she's around. But my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, they're not very tech-savvy. And I find that it really curtails their lifestyle. You know, they find that, you know, the smartphone is very difficult to use, and because of that, they're cut off from a lot of activities and applications and services that you could get so easily. You know, my mother-in-law still goes to the supermarket and buy very heavy stuff, and we say, hey, why don't you order online? He said, don't want. I said, why? Because I have to give my credit card online. I said, that's okay. He said, no, not safe. I said, actually, it's quite safe. You know, so anyway, we can debate this for the next 2 days. But the point is, we have to embrace the technology. And I told my wife, by the time we get to our 60s and 70s, or even 80s, I'm not sure what technology there will be. With the rest of the speakers, thank you. Thank you.